networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Septic Services and Fuse Networks. My name is Galen.
I'm Joe.
We're coming at you from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. So, Joe, for our new listeners and viewers out there, can you tell everyone how our podcast came to be, please?
Sure. So it first started out as a private Facebook group page where the purpose was to bring businesses together to kind of just communicate with one another and share successes, ask questions, help each other out. And we thought, what a better way than to start a podcast, bring on different guest speakers, talk about all kinds of topics as it relates to business, so our audience can take something away and implement it in their business.
Awesome. And speaking of audience, we're excited to have our guest today, Mr. Scott Carson. Joe, give a formal intro to Scott, please.
Sure. So we actually met on LinkedIn, by the way, people. So it is for connections. But Scott Carson is a highly sought after guest and host of the popular podcast, The Note Closer Show. An active entrepreneur, he is an expert in real estate investing, marketing, and podcasting. He speaks regularly at different events and industry conventions focused on real estate, marketing, and podcasting. He also helps thousands of investors and entrepreneurs each year to create wealth through his debt buying classes, podcasting, and coaching. So I'm sensing a podcasting theme here. A regular podcast guest, he was recently named the number 4 entrepreneur to follow in 2022 by the U.S. News Reporter magazine. Congrats. And an avid sports fan, he spends his free time traveling, gardening, and making memories, and he calls Austin, Texas his home. Everyone, welcome, Scott.
What is going on, fellas? Honored to be here and honored just to deliver to your guys' audience today.
Awesome. And really, audience is going to be our kind of the key buzzword today. Guys, it's not a real estate show. We're not going to hustle anything real estate.
But no run in the back of the room or anything like that. Yeah, exactly.
But Scott has been able to adapt and pivot really well to what an audience he likes to target best. Mm-hmm. And for our audience and for us, I think it's a really powerful topic. So before we move forward, our hashtag Valor Cares initiative is something we are super proud of. Mm-hmm. Joe, can you tell everyone a little bit about it, how to apply?
Sure. So they can go to the Ask Valor Masterminds website. There's a thing that says Valor Cares, and it's our initiative to give away website builds to business owners who are in need of a website, whether they're just starting out, whether they've been in business for 50 years, or they just don't have access to a website. A website is a foundation piece for every single business now who wants some sort of visibility online. So if you don't have a website, or you maybe want a new one rebuilt, go ahead and submit your information, and we pick winners every month.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. So let's get into the podcast. Our Advanced Septic Pump You Up quote of the day. So Scott, I found this quote. It's going to resonate well with today's topic. So by Andrew Davis, commit to a niche. Try to stop being everything to everyone. So when I say those words, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that many entrepreneurs have an idea, a business thought, or they have a product, and they make the mistake of coming into the market thinking that everybody is going to be their client, and that's not the case. You've really got to niche down and identify your avatar. And avatar, I don't mean like blue aliens in a Steven Spielberg movie, all right?
Right. The sequel's coming out, but
exactly.
We're not talking about that. So.
Yeah, no. But avatar is like your ideal client. And, knowing what your ideal client is doing will help you niche it down. And we're talking like age group, sex, besides age, wealth, what they make, income, their buying habits. I know that my client is basically a 35 to 55 college educated homeowner for the most part, who's making at least $75,000 a year or more. So I know that. So that's the audience that I focus on. I also focus on niching down to understand that, especially in what I do, I don't target just any general real estate agent or investor. I'm more focused on those that are tired landlords, fix and flippers who can't find deals anymore, or more so like people that are looking for passive income is a great stuff I do. So I niche it down, and especially since we met on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people out there that try to be a podcast to everybody in real estate, especially, and that's not going to work. There's enough. The wider your audience is, the watered down your message is, and the less value you add to your best clients. So if you can niche it down, you're going to go deeper versus wide. You'll add a lot of value to their client and build lifelong customers who really value, because you're the expert in your niche or field or their demographic.
Sweet. So before we get into the did you know, can you give a little background real quick, 1 to 2 minutes about your background so people understand?
Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years as a real estate investor. And over the last 15, I have focused on a niche in the real estate, basically buying distressed debt. I got started back in 2007, 2008, when the last recession hit. I used to be a mortgage broker doing loans for mortgage, investors all across the country. But I really focus on this niche within this small niche of real estate, and it's helped me become really the industry leader, not only in knowledge and classes, but in content. I mean, deciding to go very niche focused has helped us have the #1 YouTube channel, #1 podcast, and really be the #1 investor recommended training program for our niche of stuff, versus me trying to be, I'm going to teach you everything about real estate. It's like saying that you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. Be a master of one thing and you'll add a lot more value.
Awesome. So now there's a couple myths that we want to go over. So our Did You Know section, sponsored by Fuse Network. So just something on Fuse real quick. How to navigate the modern threat landscape. Cybercrime is a problem that is only getting worse. And as you might expect, it's no good for business. It puts your organization in a position where it has to take steps to secure its infrastructure, whether you like it or not. Let Fuse Networks go over some of the problems associated with cybercrime with a free analysis. Contact Fuse Networks today. We'll have their contact information up. There's a couple myths that I want you to kind of debunk based on like niching and audiences. So this first one, you kind of alluded to it, but my target audience is everyone. So, common misconception. Help us break that down a little bit.
Well, the reason most people think it's everyone is they're at the very front, I guess you could say, of their entrepreneurial journey. They think everybody needs what I do. Well, that's not the case. Not everybody needs what you do. So one of the better ways to niche it down is look at your competition, look at your peers, and look at what's going on. And we kind of do it like an audit, like a social media audit, as some people call it. We'll look at people's profiles. And these days, it's really easy to kind of take a look at what your competition is doing and who they're serving. And you can make the same decision to either I'm going to go after that same client database, or I'm going to flip over and look at this a client database that's not being served to see how that is. But like we said before, not everybody's going to be your client. Like me, we're not going to target like 20 to 25%. That's not saying they can't be investors. They just don't have the liquid capital to do it. So you also have to look at what kind of product you're offering. If it's a higher end product, not everybody can afford it. If it's a lower end product, maybe your best clients may not want it because they consider it not being valuable because it's a lower end product. So you got to really take a look at and identify what the buying habits of your ideal client are and where they're at and how you want to fit into that.
Awesome. My audience needs to know everything. So I often see this, people when they start a YouTube channel or social media for the very first time, they're just trying to barf up everything in that first post or the first couple posts, right? And then people get turned off. So you've succeeded with this. Share a thought with our audience on my audience needs to know everything, that myth.
Well, I haven't succeeded in barfing up on everybody. I have diarrhea of the mouth like we were talking about. But you make a very valid point here is so many entrepreneurs are so excited about what they're doing. They just literally give everything at once. Not everybody wants to know everything. If you're going to be doing like a podcast, YouTube channels, something in there, just do a brain dump on a piece of paper of all the different topics, because those could be great little individual videos, 2 to 5 minutes. One of the things I like to use the website Answer the Public. And I go in there, type a question, it'll give me all these different variations of questions that people are looking for, asking in real world time. So that gives me an idea to filter through what people are looking for versus what I'm thinking. So do a brain dump, make you a whole list of 50 to 100 topics, and then make a video or a topic specifically to that one nugget. You know, don't try to give 3, 5, 20 nuggets at once, because people will get tired of it and they'll move on. Because you got to realize attention spans.
Yeah.
You know, we have an attention span of 8 seconds, which is a second slower than a goldfish. Okay.
I would beg to differ with you on the mobile devices. I'd say it's 3 to 4 seconds.
Exactly right.
Desktop, so
it's exactly. I'm just talking in normal, but yeah, desktop. It's
we're not normal. We're highly distracted individuals.
But, well, we know that you're pulling your stuff from your Tinder application or Grindr application. You know what I mean? Swipe left, baby. Swipe left. You know what I mean? But that's an important thing, is you got to stand out. But you got to hit that nugget with what the hot buttons are. Look what people are searching for. If it falls in line with the category, look at what is doing successful in other videos online in your niche, what your competition is doing or is doing. And that's really one of the things that we did, is we looked at what our competition was doing and just started answering questions that they were answering. You know, we went to their website, pulled an FAQ list of like 50 questions that nobody was going to, and we looked on YouTube, and there wasn't a lot of videos on those things. So we started creating short little videos of less than 2 minutes long, really do really well to boost your audience. And then the big mistake a lot of people don't do is they just only share it to one spot. You need to take that and share it basically everywhere that your audience is at. You know, 80% of sales are made up to the 5th contact, and that 5th contact might be the 5th view or the 6th view that they see it. So it's okay to, if your audience is on YouTube, share it there. If they're podcast listeners, share it on podcasting in an audio form. If they're on LinkedIn, like how we met, share it to LinkedIn or Twitter. We don't have a Pinterest following for the most part, because I'm not on Pinterest, but honestly, it's not an effective platform because a lot of our audience is on Pinterest or like TikTok right now. So we share other places, but that's the thing. Know where your audience is at, know where they're hanging out, and then share it everywhere, because it's like casting a bigger net for your niche.
So just selfishly speaking, when you do these videos, you do competitive research and like you're looking at FAQ sections. How do you spin it, or how do you pivot it to help your podcast out? Do those messages align, or like is the Note Closer Show one different lane, or Note 9 America is a different lane, and then you have these videos, or do they all work together?
They all kind of work together. So like, I guess you can say the mothership is my website, weclosenotes.com. And that's our big, educational entity. The Note Closer Show podcast is 700 plus episodes, and we spun that off about 5 years ago because we started to do Facebook Live, just like short videos, and what are we doing today, what are we working on. Note Night in America is probably our most consistent. We've been doing something on Monday nights, either a teleconference or webinar, for over 11 years.
Oh, wow.
And the consistency of that, it's a longer form content of at least usually 30 minutes to an hour every week, unless I'm traveling or it's a holiday, of something that I can add value to my client. Now, either it's me teaching, or we had, like this last week, we had an expert on raising capital. We pick a major topic that usually comes from people asking me questions throughout the week, or I see a barrage of questions coming in that I need to answer. And so that's what we do. Note Night in America, of course, we turned that into its own podcast for the last 3 years. And then the Note Closer Show is much more of our day in, day out, 3 to 5 episodes per week. That's half of me teaching, but then we also bring on guests. In shorter form, it's more of a conversation like this is. If it's going to be very nuts and bolts, then we usually will pitch it to Note Night in America, where it's a hour-long webinar with PowerPoint slides and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. This next myth. My audience knows how to respond. So I just want to read this to you and get your thoughts. So your target audience is intelligent but busy. That's why your marketing should include a measurable call to action. Make sure your audience knows what to do after engaging with your marketing. Do you want them to call for an appointment, visit your website, like your Facebook page, donate money, vote for a candidate, or shop a sale? Be sure you can track these responses to evaluate the effectiveness of your campaign. So like he said, attention spans decreasing. People are impatient, but they're hungry. At the same time, they're lazy. So what are some of your expected responses when you put these things out here?
So let's start with a mistake that we see people make. So like if you're doing like an email blast out, they'll have like 12 links to click on, and that's confusing. Think about what you want your ideal client to do, and then realize they're probably a 5th grader. Okay. Treat them like a 5th grader. Give them one thing, one action, maybe 2 at the most. but like if it's click to watch a video, tell them exactly what you want. Click here to RSVP, click here to book a call. You just can't put a link in there without some guidance, because people, like you said, they're on their phone for a big chunk of the time, or they're on their laptop, they're busy. So the less links that you give them, but the more specific call to action. Maybe it is going to your Calendly and booking a link. Maybe it is going to your YouTube channel to watch a video. One of the things that has helped us a lot is we try to simplify even those links.
Mhm.
So like if anybody wants to book a call with me, it's not going to my profile and going to my link tree, trying to
Right.
figure out where to go. It's, hey, if you want to talk with me, just go to talkwithscottcarson.com. Talkwithscottcarson.com. That basically just forwards them directly to my Calendly. Then they can book a call with me that works. But it's not, hey, go here and then go here and then go
Right.
here. The more clicks you have in that customer journey or that client basis, the bigger drop off you're going to have for people completing actions. So that's a big thing. Be specific. One link. If it's to book a call, book a call. If it's to watch a video here. Just make it simple, super simple. As I like to say, the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Mhm.
Right, for all your engagement. It'll make your clients happier. It is also important to add, have an idea of what you want your client's journey to be. You know,
Right.
what's, if you can try to streamline that and plot that out, the first thing you want them to do is they go to your website. What do they do? They're watching the video, or they're opting into a website. Well, what do you want them to do after they watch that video, or after they attend a webinar, or after? You have to really walk it through the process and set it out. But that's, that can be daunting for a lot of new entrepreneurs, because like, I don't know what I need them to do next. Talk with somebody, get a coach, reach out. Hey, what's the journey you want? Draw it out, and then go back in and fill that. Too many times, entrepreneurs are, oh, we're going to do a website. Okay, we're going to do a webinar series. We're going to do a podcast, but they're not connected in any sort of fashion to help people, understand the journey and the best way to digest your content or become a client.
Awesome. So this one goes right into what you were just talking about. So this myth, my target audience will be curious. So there's a difference between creative and confusing, and the human brain has a natural aversion to being confused. The scientists and marketers behind the physics of brand share that the brain seeks alignment between visuals and written text. When your message and visuals clash, the brain finds it disturbing and untrustworthy. So you're kind of just talking about that. People, they are intelligent, but they're busy. They want it served on a silver platter, force fed to them, right? Their mouths wide with the napkin, so they just don't do anything. So you kind of just said that same thing, right? So,
well, and it's important to think about it. You mentioned one thing in there. It's got to stand out too. So it's okay to not be just the whole the Charlie Brown for teachers. Boring. Nobody wants boring these days.
Right.
You have to stand out. So one of the things that we find that works really well is we bring in a little pop culture in some of the stuff. So like when Marvel was coming out with Civil War, the movie Civil War a few years ago,
right.
I reached out to one of my competitors and I said, hey, let's do a webinar and call it the Note Civil War, where I'm Iron Man and he's Cap. Yeah. And we created an image with half my face and half his face. And we both promoted it, but we just kind of took a twist on it. Well, we hit that pop culture. 700 people on a webinar live, hearing us talk about each other in good ways. And what we did. I did another thing like, working out your marketing, where I took my head, put it on top of a Chippendales body.
Right.
So we saw a big influx of women clicking on the link at that point, who showed up to show us talking about how to break down the marketing and work your marketing muscles. So it's okay to be goofy. You have to share a little personality. I think so many business and entrepreneurs are afraid to share that personality side, what makes them weird and unique. Do that. That will actually help people build rapport and actually I like this guy or gal. Or if they don't like you, then that's even better, because they can go their merry way, go to somebody else.
Right. So I can make Joe do karaoke right now, sing "My Heart Will Go On" by Celine Dion, and we could get 700 viewers right now. Let's hit it.
No.
Cue music, DJ. Oh, just kidding. We're not doing that. Right. But I see the pop culture stuff, you're being relevant. So, because if people are so bored, it's sometimes the dumbest things, like how TikToks, these videos become so viral of some things you wouldn't think would be, but it catches people off guard. And if you're saying if you tie that in to what you specialize in, there could be an angle for you just to kind of register, do a double take, right?
Exactly. So I'll give you an example. When I go out to movies or I go out to shows, or Vegas is one of my favorite places to go when it's normal. I always go to different shows to figure out. There's a show there. They had this lady come out in the audience, and it was hilarious. She's like, "I'm looking for more ass. I'm looking to help assist, strategize, and support people." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's awesome!"
Wow, baby got back.
Baby got back. So I went and sent an email out. I was teaching in a workshop in St. Louis. I said, "Get more ass this weekend in St. Louis." And I started getting people like, "What the hell?" And I said, "Hey, we'll help you assist, strategize, and support this weekend in your note business." And people were like, "Oh my God, that's hilarious." And of course, we had a few haters. I'm like, "Okay, thank you for unsubscribing." But, we did another thing when the 50 Shades of Grey came out. We did 50 Shades of Notes. Do you feel like you're being spanked by your borrowers? Do you have a ball gag when it comes to talking to investors? You know what I mean? Do you feel like, just goofing around, being funny, and 50% open rate, and people are just laughing their ass off at me and say, "This is great. This is awesome. Yes, I'm interested. So I want to find out what you're going to say next. That's valuable, but you make it entertaining."
Well, then, quick side note: have you done the tortilla challenge one yet?
No, I've not done that. What's that one?
That's where each person has a mouthful of water and you slap each other in the face with a tortilla.
I have not done that. I don't want to commit assault on somebody. But here in Texas, that might just be a normal dinner at the local taqueria. Who knows, right?
All right, so let's get into it. So today's topic, if you haven't figured it out yet, is niche down your target audience to be successful. So we've talked about different myths. So now we want to pivot and really speak to our audience. There's a lot of different audiences they have, but are there 2 or 3 takeaways that they could apply right now to help them engage their target audience and be successful?
Yeah, look at your existing client base, because if you take the time to look at the characteristics of your existing client base, 80% of your sales are probably coming from 20%, your core 20%.
Yep.
And it then makes sense at that point. Say, okay, here's who we are, here's who we're talking to, here's where the majority of our business is coming from, and focus on that 20%. Because so many of us are making success or having success from all of our activities, but if you remove a lot of those smaller outline activities, it gives you more time and focus to focus on that major 20%. And if you just do that, instead of seeing 80%, you'll probably see 400 to 500% growth, because you're really honed in and delivering what that 20% is looking for. And that's one of the easiest ways to increase sales. Just focus on your target audience and ask them, who do you know? Who do you need? Referrals. But focus on your existing client base. They'll tell you everything you need to know about your audience, even though you might think otherwise. They'll tell you how to say it or what their biggest needs are. And so it's always a great thing to sit there and say, what are the issues that Laura is dealing with? We actually have labeled our female client, our avatar, Laura, because she fits exactly. And then our guy is Steve. So what does Laura and Steve need? What are their issues they're dealing with? Is it raising capital? Is it finding deals? Is it the servicing side, all the auxiliary services that they need? And I will actually pick up the phone. Hey, what are you dealing with? What are your issues? How can I help? And sometimes it's going to be me referring them to a vendor of some sort that adds value to their day-to-day. I may not make anything off it. I might give them an affiliate, might get a kickback, but it adds value to my vendor, so that they like, oh, hey, I need you to talk to this client of ours, Scott, because they're ideal clients, because we have a lot of crossover.
Right.
So really look at your core, your client base, and then talk to your vendors a lot too, to help drive growth, drive sales, and drive engagement too, if that helps.
I will say, I think from a marketing standpoint for our company, I think when we niche down, we know it's 60% home service related, 30% professionals, and then 10% is maybe others, that the onesies and twosies. So I know that when we changed our focus to, I want to help everyone, to this is what we're good at helping, then your business tends to grow.
It also saves you from having to do a lot of these weird outlier things. You can kind of systematize it to what you're doing. Like, oh, hey, we work with clients exactly like this. So here's A, B, and C. Their biggest needs. Does this fit into what you're doing? Oh, and we'll add D because that's unique to your position or something like that. So that's awesome, man.
Right. It even goes down to not only client, but almost like product mix too. So within the specific client vertical, there's products that work even better that you focus on that. Then, what we always say is like, stay in our lane and do it really well. as opposed to trying to do many things well. Like we talked on our discovery call, like when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one, right? So
exactly, and that's why I love what you guys are doing. You're really focused and hyper in to your unique client, and you're adding your value proposition is really driven for your unique clients and what your base core of entrepreneurs and focus,
right.
Your focus group. Basically, it's your own focus group, and if you can deliver to your focus group, they're going to be raving fans and tell other people, because they're going to be around other people like themselves that want to help their friends, and like, hey, deal with these guys, they help me, and you're exactly like me. So go from there.
So on the flip side, what are one or two things you see people doing wrong when they try to be specific on their audience, but they just fail? So
one is a lack of patience. You got to realize it's got to be consistent more so than anything else. So, like we have, like a lot of our students are brand new to marketing because they come from a JOB and they're not used to sending out an email blast.
Right.
And I'm like, you got to send an email blast at the same time every week. You got to be consistent in getting that. You got to realize people are probably not going to respond the first time, the first 2, 3, 4 times. But the fact that you send it a 5th and 6th time and you've done it for 5, 6, 7 weeks, understand that consistency basis is that they'll start responding after the 4th or 5th time, but that you've got to get there. If you give up after, well, nobody responded, well, yeah, it didn't work because you didn't understand the law of numbers.
Yeah.
You're only going to have you're only going to close 2% of your sales normally with a first email, 3% the second, 5% the third, maybe 10% the fourth, but 80% are going to come to that 5th contact or beyond. And you never know, somebody may not be in the right time to say yes. So never give up on somebody. You realize that people have issues. I mean, God knows we've gone through issues the last couple of years, and with COVID and the pandemic, you just got to realize if you stay consistent when they are ready to buy or they're ready to pull the trigger, if you stop being consistent, they're going to look at somebody who's more consistent than you. So just realize that every marketing piece, everything you do, besides staying consistent, it's like planting a tree. It takes a little time for that tree or seed to grow. I use an analogy. In 1978, there was a guy in India who would walk basically 5 miles to work and then come back, and he passed this sandbar. It was just desolate. Well, back in 1978, he started planting every day. On his way back, he'd plant one little seedling, a little plant, a tree. Well, now fast forward 30 plus, 40 plus years later, it's now a beautiful rainforest of, with fresh water, diverse life. And that you have to look at your business being a lot like that. You've got to plant seeds every day and stay consistent so that you can harvest those leads, that product, that, those clients throughout a lifetime. If you're jumping from one thing to another thing to another thing, you're never giving your client database or whoever you're reaching an opportunity to really understand that you are the expert and sticking to it.
Awesome. Well, we could talk longer, but that was some great stuff. Because I think a lot of people, like we're marketers, so even that just resonates with us, like your audience of who to go after. But any business out there pivoting off of this pandemic, moving forward, you really have to know who your target customer is. Because I think there's some businesses that Joe and I will talk to that don't have a full idea. They don't have, I don't know who Steve or Laura is. They don't have a defined like avatar. And I think it's just good practice, especially when we want to optimize marketing efforts, just to make everything work. So, and thanks for coming in on a bind, saving us this week. So we really appreciate your time and coming in with us. So
honored to be here, guys. I mean, I could talk marketing all day long. I think it's one thing, if you really want to stand out in a niche, double down on marketing. So many people and companies and businesses, when they start to struggle, they cut back on the marketing budget. And they should double down the marketing budget to go from there. So glad to help out in any way I can with your audience, man. Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be on 6 months earlier.
Awesome. So before we end, hashtag Valor Cares Initiative. So talking about doubling down on marketing, you can't market on the internet without a website. Tell Joe, everyone, people that need a free website, what are Valor Cares all about?
Yep. So if you own a business and you just don't have a website yet, or maybe it's outdated, or maybe you want to do marketing for your website and your website is honestly just sucks. Go to askvalormasterminds.com, click on Valor Cares, submit your information, and then hopefully we'll be building a website for your company next.
Awesome. So on behalf of our sponsors, Advanced Septic Services and Fuse Networks, my name's Galen.
I'm Joe.
Coming at you from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thanks to our guest, Mr.
Thanks,
Scott
Scott.
Carson, for coming on. WeCloseNotes.com. We'll have his information on our social channels. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.